I have an intriguing love story to share with you. The exciting part is that you're the main character in this narrative. The irony lies in the fact that this type of story is typically told by the other main character involved. The story is a romantic tragedy of Disney and you. Once upon a time, you met an amazing creative soul named Disney. Disney was always entertaining you and giving you inspirational messages of hope and how good triumphs over evil and how you can always find love no matter what. Over the many years, you and Disney would have a wonderful relationship where every time Disney made you a gift, you'd be very happy and you'd know that it was going to be amazing. You always left Disney's presence with a feeling of satisfaction. Disney knew how to please you because Disney knew exactly what you loved and what made you feel good. He knew how to make you feel special. Everywhere you went, you would brag to your friends and family about Disney, and your friends and family met Disney and eventually got to love Disney too. Disney was such a stand-up guy that your family would even introduce Disney to their kids. Everybody trusted and loved Disney very much, especially you. As the years unfolded, your intertwined journey with Disney played out like chapters of a novel. Growing up side by side, you and Disney formed an unbreakable bond that transcended time. Then, as time continues, everyone starts loving Disney, and Disney realizes that, well, he has more options. Disney, to play upon this new expansive world of endless horizons and reaching more people, starts to consume a lot of social media. And you both do, so it's not a big deal. However, you in time begin to notice that Disney has been distant. When you're together, it becomes apparent that Disney isn't investing the same level of creativity, love, and passion into entertaining you. You still support him no matter what. But when he's with you or when he gives you things, it just feels off, like he's not really there. And then you start to notice that Disney has been spending time with somebody else. This person isn't particularly popular, and their interest in Disney seems rather indifferent, at least at first. However, as the saying goes, there's a certain allure to wanting something that you can't have. This new shiny person has Disney's attention, and now Disney is breaking his back, bending over backward to try and please this person that doesn't even care about him. She tells Disney how amazing he is, but how he needs to change because of all the things that he did in the past being problematic, and how you, his partner, had been an enabler in keeping Disney down. So Disney tries to change everything that made him wonderful to suit this freaking thought. You try to talk to Disney and tell him that what he's doing is going to ruin him and your relationship, not to mention his relationship with everybody else who loves him just the way he is. But he doesn't listen because he's enchanted by this other woman's thottery. This other strange, cantankerous woman uses Disney for her activism, and she's nasty to everyone. Disney is inspired by her because he believes that he sees good inside of her and that she's truly trying to bring about change. In a surprising turn of events, Disney distances himself from family, friends, and even you, the person who played a supportive role, standing by his side and encouraging him to unleash his creativity, a crucial factor in his journey to wealth and success. Now that he feels like he doesn't need you anymore and you don't understand him, he decides, fuck your feelings. He's all about that premium pussy now. Still yet, like an idiot, you stay by his side, still giving him a chance and putting up with the gaslighting and the abuse. You try to call him out on what he's doing, and he turns it around on you and tells you that you're the problem and that you're actually doing all the things that he's actively doing to harm your relationship and himself. He even goes as far as to stand beside his new bitch while both of them berate you and verbally and emotionally gaslight you. For some stupid reason, you still stick by him, and whenever he needs help or needs you to support him, when he needs an ear or shoulder to cry on, even when he's verbally berating you, you still come to his aid. When he goes out and starts trying to inspire people with his new style of entertainment, which is not his character, surprise, surprise, people don't accept him. They can see through the fakery. The new people who didn't know about him think he's boring and uninspiring, and the old people that supported him, including you, recognize that he's changed for the worse. And both of those types of people collectively agree that he's too preachy. He hasn't gotten better, but has become complacent, quite bitter, and is just a really mean person. Because of all the power he had gained from his success with you and everybody else supporting him, he now thinks he doesn't need you and keeps doubling down on insulting you. One day, he comes over to your house, reminisce on old times, and he says, Remember how we used to do this together? Remember this that I made for you and your family and friends and all the shows I put on for you? Well, I'm gonna do that again. He gives you these gifts, and you feel the level of nostalgia remembering the old times. Now, this new package of the way he's recreated these things that he made before to give you feels good, but not as good as the original. But it's a thought that counts, and you can see he's trying. Then after a while, he starts giving you these gifts that are basically the same old stuff he gave you. All the old presents and gifts he used to make you, he just gave the same thing to you again, but in a way more dreary package, like no care went into it. Like he's doing the bare minimum to prove that he's still good enough. Or to fool you into thinking that he still kinda cares. Then you find out that he's not even the one behind all these gifts, it's this new person telling him how to make these gifts with her ideologies all wrapped up into it. You can tell because they don't even sound like him. All his little plays and poems, they're like the old stuff, but worse. You call him out on this and tell him that he should just be himself and that you never asked for these, especially if they're coming from that bitch. You just want him back. You just want him. You miss him. You still love him, and you still believe that he has greatness inside of him and that he's wasting it on someone who doesn't even care about him. She's using him. She's destroying him from the inside out. She doesn't care about him because she sees that the public has turned against him, yet she keeps stoking the fire and pushing him closer to the cliff. And he's blinded by thinking that she actually cares about him, that she's the only one who understands him, and they have to keep pushing even though he's burning everything around him and all his relationships, and she's aware that she's separating him from his family and cutting him off from all his past relationships. You tell Disney that your family still loves him and cares about him, and they're trying to let him know that he's about to jump over a cliff. He does what most abusers do, narrows his eyes and glares down at you because how dare you talk down to him. He doesn't need you. He's successful. And that other girl has stuck by his side for who he is now. If you really loved him, you would be along for the ride because you said you were his ride or die, but you ain't riding and you ain't dying. He leaves you. And so you don't even talk about him anymore except with your family and friends because you're all worried. The family and friends also want to keep their kids away from him because he's a really bad influence, and they all looked up to him, and now the family and friends are worried because their kids looked up to him and they don't want their kids to become like him, so they separate themselves and don't even talk about him really anymore. You don't support him anymore because you're not going to enable him to destroy himself with this woman. Then, when his ventures fail because you didn't support him, he knocks down your door, breaks it down, shoves his finger in your face, and accuses you of causing him to fail because you didn't support him like you said you would. You should drop everything you're doing, even though he barely spends time with you or cares about you, and just support him regardless because you said that you would, and you broke your promise. It's your fault he's in the situation because you didn't believe in him and kept on holding him back. The more you talk about it and call him out on what he's doing, the more he berates you and tells you that you're being a hateful and bitter bitch. You're absolutely stunned, and now, not only is he doing the same, but all his friends and his girlfriends' friends, all his new friends, are joining in, targeting you and your family. With their connections to influential individuals, they begin spreading rumors that you and your family are toxic and racist and every freaking word and insult under the sun. Unfortunately, their larger influence allows these false narratives to gain traction among their circle because they all have a bigger voice. You try to explain your side of things to the public, but you're met with hate and all the media is against you. What's even worse is that they protect Disney by saying he's wonderful and you're just hateful and jealous. They suggest there's a reason he left you, and it's because you're toxic, and he's on to better things because this is the future. You just can't believe that this is the same beautiful, kind, inspirational, and humble person that you grew up with. It was you and him against the world, and even the world embraced him. Over time, you start to resent him as well because he's trying to ruin your life and reputation, and you didn't do anything to deserve this. Over time, you distance yourself from him even more. Gradually, you notice his success is starting to take a hit. And the woman, his new shiny muse that claimed to be by his side for all time, is suddenly nowhere to be found. She had successfully gotten him to change everything about his business model, and when she made him alter every single thing about himself until he was barely recognizable only in name, she dumped him because he was no longer the person that she met and took a liking to. He ended up changing everything about himself, which attracted her to him in the first place, which ended up driving away this new girl. Then she latched onto some other guy who's inspirational and has a wonderful following to do exactly the same thing. Disney thinks about you. And then when he realizes this new person has left him in the shitter and is even talking about him behind his back, saying how he's lost his magic, the nerve of her, he starts to miss you so much and realizes what he always had. But now it's too late. Now he's scrambling. He's starting to realize where he went wrong, but he's also created a monster because there's a group of his popular so-called friends, especially the ones that have connections, that she and he made that are spurring him on to keep burning himself alive. On one hand, he wants to please them because they're the only people in his corner, so he thinks, even though they're not really financially supporting any of his ventures. It's not like he can go back because nobody loves him, and he's completely turned everybody off to him that he knew, ruining so many people's lives in the process and setting fire to every bridge he walked over. He watches as his wealth and support rapidly decline, resembling water rapidly spiraling down a whirlpool with no apparent end. With the passage of time, he observes that even the last remaining supporters who were once cheering him on steadily distancing themselves from him as well. You recognize what's happening to him, and the dark side of you feels justified because of what he did to you and your family and friends. But there's a very, very, very small part of you, a very distant part, that still cares about him and hopes that he'll come to his senses and be the humble, sweet, and inspiring guy he once was. Isn't that a very sad tale? You might think that there's some kind of justification there, and while there is, there's a hint of sadness for the love that was also lost. You, in this case, is the audience and all the consumers that have financially supported Disney because they believe in the value of Disney's products. Disney is, well, Disney. Disney has essentially opted for a partner of lesser quality, or even someone indifferent who doesn't really care about them or anyone else. In doing so, Disney has sacrificed its once pristine quality and reputation for the sake of individuals who essentially function like locusts, consuming, digesting, and just leaving everything that they touch in ruins. But little too late, because the more Disney was burning, is the more Disney kept throwing fuel on its own fire before it realized that, well, it's its own house that they've set on fire. It's essentially the parallel to when there's a spider in your house, and so you flamethrower the spider and end up burning down your home. I could see how that would be more justified than what Disney did to their own company. Now, I'm sure Disney wants you back, the people who initially supported them for their creativity and the production of quality entertainment. Disney once stood for something. They told diverse stories and championed openness and open-mindedness. However, in the pursuit of progressing, they've swung the pendulum to the extreme. Yet, all raging fires tend to burn through their fuel too quickly, and it appears that this has become Disney's fate, the hero turned villain in their own story. But perhaps, in the future, that small ember of hope will reignite into a tempered fire, allowing Disney to shine brightly once more without succumbing to the chaos of misguided peer pressure from ill-intentioned influences, akin to harpies in sheep's clothing. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ulturi. You ask, we answer.